So you are a financial website, and you need a digital experience that engages your users, represents your brand, and combines the best and newest content sets and tools without breaking your budget. Or, as many of you are, you're a provider of financial data or content, maybe even a small startup, and you have content, data, and tools that you want to bring to market. I'm going to show you a series of technologies today that help solve for agility and speed to market that you can use right this second, and will help you to build in a smart, componentized fashion that delivers personalized experiences for investors. I'm Tim Burcham. I work for Markit. Some of you know us, some of you don't. Markit delivers CDS, PMI data, loan and trade processing for institutional buy-side and the asset management space. I work with my colleague Laura on the on-demand division. We don't work as much with those different asset types. We primarily build websites, apps for the retail brokerage, institutional and media space. So among our clients, we have TD Ameritrade, TIAA, CREF, New York Times. Basically, if you have seen a chart on the web or in an app somewhere, the odds are we're behind it. But all of our work is done in a custom solutions, private label fashion. We like to not have our name on our work. So we match up with whatever given client's look and feel is in place. We're based in Boulder, Colorado. A lot of our work, as I mentioned, is around quotes, news, charts, and research as the core business. We also have an advertising business. So if you see any of those buttons up on Yahoo Finance, we're the ones behind the hosting and optimization and even the creative around a lot of those ads. We also do a lot of work with personalization for investor experiences, advisor experiences, that sort of thing. We're also just in the nature of working in that space, omni-channel. So we're working in web, we're working in mobile, we're working in mobile web. We're doing a lot of work in wearables right now. We're even doing some experiments with VR and Oculus Rift and some things like that. So a little bit all over the place in terms of the type of work that we do, the different spaces that we work in and operate in. Really, our competitive piece is mostly with our clients' own technology teams. We're going in to see what we can take out from a given client, ideally to make their lives easier, and ideally really to work next to a technology team to make a technology team's life easier. The way I like to think about that is we'll go in and help with the bits that you don't want to as a developer or technologist so that you can go focus on the other hard problems, right? We won't get into the trading side of things or the account side of things. Those are equally hard spaces to go solve. But we do come in and make sure that you have the right market data, tools, and content to get into your site. That's a bit of what the market on demand piece does. We also work in an agile, lean fashion. We'll get in and work really tightly with our clients to kind of pull all of that together. Just for a sense of scale in terms of what we do, we turn about 1.85 billion quotes a day. We run 1,250 feeds, data feeds coming in, so pretty much any market data feed that you can get your hands on at a large scale, we're bringing that in-house, aggregating it, and making sure that any given client, anybody who comes to us can get kind of all of the parts and pieces that they need on a site. We're also, to do all of that, turning about 500 million page views a day. So lots of scale and lots of servers turning over, all of those sorts of things. Kind of getting past that introduction, what I'd like to show you today is some of the approaches. I'm going to run through a few demos, some of the different software and technologies that we use to put all of that together and create some of these experiences for our clients' clients. I would really love to not sell you any product today. I think we've seen a lot of different product demos, that sort of thing. I'm here to show you some of the things we do, some of the things we've taken outside of our walls in an open source fashion. We'll talk about F2 a little bit, and that's really what I'm here to show you today. So I'll go ahead and jump to what I have on the screen. This is a demo we call Station, for lack of a better name. We didn't spend a lot of time on the naming of it. This is what we use, because all of our work is private label, this is a demo we use to show what we do in a way that is tangible and practical and you can understand. I can talk a lot about the different ways that we get things done. It's much easier to see it in a demo fashion. So really what this is it's kind of a web-based terminal. We've pulled together market data and tools from a lot of different places within our own organization to put this experience together. So just kind of running down the page here, you've got some personalized information here, including some monopoly money net worth, a little bit of personalized transactional information that's coming in terms of buys, sells, dividends. Coming down the page, data visualizations on how the emerging markets are doing. Our North American markets are closed. We know that, so let's show you how the other markets are doing. Let's do a bit of a replay. General news, and then we get down into some personalized content around What's happening in my watch list? In this day and age, there's an expectation for any end user that you're going to get an Amazon like or a Facebook like or whatever type of personalized experience you expect. Any of our given clients, they know your holdings, they know your watch list. Our expectations are very different around what is done with that data. This is very simply taking what I know about in your watch list in this particular demo and assembling it according to various technical analysis, moving averages, a little bit on some ratings down below, and what's happening here. We know this. We know what events you're probably looking for. Why would you expect to get an email alert? Why should I make you go in and set checkboxes to get an email alert? It's kind of ridiculous at this point. So we've gone ahead and taken that, gone ahead and tied it in with things I've recently viewed within this demo as well. So any sort of data island of different securities I can tie in inside of here, I'm going to pull it together and just give you a little bit of content discovery, some investing ideas, a little bit about what's happening within your portfolio in this case. Dismissing this screen, I can get to what for us is a pretty straightforward markets overview page. This is the sort of thing you see just about anywhere now, including Google Finance or Yahoo Finance. We're pulling all of this together in the browser. I'm using no fancy plugins to do this. We've used Node to build this demo. This is all web-based technology. Out of the box. We even went out of our way to almost build this anti-framework, so I'm not using an Angular, I'm not using a Dojo, we're doing that on purpose. I'm trying to see how far we can get just using HTML, CSS, and some JavaScript to pull this together. Tapping in things like Socket.io and even some of our own streaming technology to stream what we can. Unfortunately, the markets are closed right now, so I don't have lots of flickering lights or that sort of thing on the screen. But you get a sense of what we're able to do here in terms of constructing this interface. So just briefly, just running down the page here again, pulling in content from a variety of different places that we've aggregated ourselves. We're also bringing in MT Newswires here, news provider that's very competitive in the space, and they've provided a component here that I'm able to pull into this particular interface and show you some of their own news coming in here as well. Again, relatively straightforward in terms of what I'm showing you so far. Jump into a stocks overview. Again, straightforward page, lots of what's happening with Tesla today. It looks like they got hit a little bit. Some general text describing them, high-res logos, that sort of thing. So this is how we're kind of pulling all of this together. But what is more interesting from our point of view is the how we do it. So we have quickly put together this demo here, and I can show you some information architecture, but really it's about how we're assembling these different components and pulling them together. And that's the part that I'm interested to talk to you guys about today. So jumping from here, the way we do it is with this technology called F2. It's this open source specification. Really, after years and years of doing these custom solutions, we had seen every integration possible. Every type of web-based, iframe-based, anything you could do with the web or from a portal solution point of view, we'd seen it all and integrated with it all. That's the nature of our business, is to do that custom integration, get things wired up that way. We had a group of clients come to us and say, we're about to do a replatforming. We know how much time and money gets wasted on that integration piece. Is there a better way? What's the best practice? It's not iframes. It's not these other pieces. What is the way to do it? And we went to our development teams and asked for them for the best practices. And they started to assemble those in the form of code, quickly started to document it, and we very quickly realized that we had something that was much better. It would much better serve everyone if it were freely available and open and out in the wild rather than within our own walls. So we went ahead and took it, and it became F2, and that's what I have up here on the screen right now. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit from the market and the capability side of things over to this open source project that we created. This is it's focused around web integration at the moment. We're working in the course of turning it into more of a foundational body right now. Like I said, it's free. We manage everything on GitHub. You can get in there, take the code, do what you will with it. We would love for folks to help us fix bugs. The idea with this is what I was describing back on that solution you saw, which is this is really about creating a multi-vendor environment. This is a problem that financial services and the various clients that I'm referring to has, which is there's a lot of content coming from a lot of different places. If you go to build one of these sites as a bank or a brokerage, there's a lot of expense going around those data contracts. There's a lot of expense going around integrating it all into a cohesive look and feel. And then if you're a bank or a brokerage, you then have to worry about not just your retail clientele, but your bank clientele. And now we have the mobile, and then we need to get responsive. And we have to serve all of these different parts of a given bank and address all of these different areas. And often, I was talking with someone earlier today, often that turns into 12 technology teams, all with different technology standards created at different points in time, all solving these problems in different ways. And what you end up with is a pretty fractured technology organization that can't integrate across those boundaries. From a data provider point of view, if you are someone with content and you're a big player, you're able to usually navigate those conversations. If you're a startup, you can't find a way in. You might get into one of those platforms at a given bank, but then you have to worry about the other 8. And then you have to worry about the next bank along or the next brokerage along. It's really challenging to operate in that space. So what we're trying to do with the specification, and we've seen a lot of success with, is to create I like to call it a USB standard. Yesterday I heard someone refer to Bluetooth. I'm liking that as a better metaphor. If you build to a USB standard or a Bluetooth standard, and you're a cable manufacturer in USB, you know that cable's going to plug in every single time without any questions. It's just going to work. And that's what we've created here is a specification for web componentry that ties together to create that multi-vendor environment and allows what we call a container owner to assemble things into a consistent look and feel. Whether it's, in this case, we have a white Bankio interface or the dark gray interface I was showing you. As a content provider, you're going to be able to provide your content into any of those given look and feels with a minimum of extra customization. And we've seen success with that piece as well. The idea with this is that it works next to your existing framework. We do a lot of conversations where we get asked, why on earth would I go with this specification or standard when we've already made an investment in fill in the blank piece of technology or standard? And our answer is this doesn't solve those problems. I don't have an Angular to show you. I don't have a Dojo to show you here. I have this piece of technology and this standard that solves a very narrow problem that no one else seems to really solve that well. And that's what we've done with this project. So you can see we make sure that we're compatible with any given framework. It's more of an and conversation than an or conversation when it comes to working with an Angular or working with a backbone. Kind of going from there, I showed you a demo just a second ago of how this works. The basic premise of this is we have the notion of a container. This container is this blank website with a grid. This is any website. This is any single page app. I was talking to someone earlier today. We used a Cold Fusion metaphor. This is that old Cold Fusion site that you kept on the back shelf that you never want to look at again. If it works on the web, we can get in there with a couple lines of code and be able to deliver components to it. So that's your container, your shell, your look and feel. If we jump over to our apps, these are the individual components, modules, widgets, that we happen to call them apps, that tie together into that interface and make it all work. These can come from any number of parties. So I must have about 12 different individual components here. That plus the container, in this case, this could be 13 different parties all hosting their content independently. This could be a single party just looking for modularization within your own firm. It's really flexible in terms of how that technology works. The next piece we have here, as we get past containers and past apps, is can those individual components communicate with one another? Can I change a symbol, for example, and get different content? So we have here a StockTwits app for Netflix, and I'm able to, with these couple of lines of code, reinitialize this app for Amazon. It's able to understand that its context has changed. It's a simple event pub/sub model, and now the components changed to Amazon. So this I just did with a very simple example for a stock symbol. This could as equally work for user context, for an advisor looking at a set of clients, whatever the case might be. We can kind of do everything with that simple pub/sub model. This is also responsive. The components themselves don't really care, honestly. As long as you're designing these componentized pieces and your overall grid or container understands how to be responsive in a bootstrap sense, it's all going to work. And you're going to be able to, as a product owner, apply these assets across a number of different properties, if you will. In terms of why would we think we could go create yet another framework to solve some niche problem and go there, we have a pretty healthy backing from a number of large players in our industry who are helping us to work with this open source standard to make sure that no one party is going to run away with it and try to monetize it or componentize it. We truly want it to be free. We want it to be available to anybody to be able to use to tie these components together. We're getting a lot of traction in terms of who's building on the on the content side of things as well as the container side of things. Anything our firm builds is using this technology. So when we go in to build a custom solution for a given client, we're using this so that they're enabled to be able to do it. So if you are a content provider and you're just getting started, and we field these conversations a lot, and you're trying to get into some of these markets, the odds are that the client you're after already has a site that is enabled with this technology, and you can expose a small HTML, CSS, JavaScript component using the standard, which is very minimal from a standards point of view, and have access to be able to deliver into their sites. So that's part of what we see as we have these conversations. Because shifting gears again back from F2, I can talk a little bit about some of the things we make using this technology and that we're equally excited about. So I showed you this demo. We have this nice chart on Tesla. This is using some browser-based technology to do charting. So diving into the charting space, getting away from graphics. There's lots of high charts, high stocks. I know ChartIQ has done a lot of work in this space. We've put together a completely responsive, browser-based charting library to get stock charts right, really. And when I say to get them right, you can use a lot of different ways to render your charts. You have developers who will go in to use D3 and lots of different ways to approach this problem space. What we think is most interesting is getting down into the weeds and getting down into the details. So are the axes, the x-axis, is that bottom axis always correct? Are the details right when you go to zoom? Are we able to always adjust those labels? When I take, let's switch it out here down to a 3-day chart. When I take British Petroleum and I compare it against its ADR in the US, are we actually able to show that and get the timescales correct? This is really hard to get right from an axis point of view to get these sorts of charts right. So we have this charting package available. It's developer-friendly, ready to go. It's not a product per se. This is something that we allow for customization. We like to get it in developers' hands so that they can go construct their own charting solutions. It's also fast, responsive, and the development team that works on this has done a fantastic job of getting this to compete with what you might get natively on, say, an iPad in terms of performance and responsiveness in terms of the interactions. The last piece here I'll talk to you about is the personalization side of things, the pure personalization side of things. So I've shown you containers, apps, context changing. At a certain point, if you use this approach, you end up with a very large inventory of what we call apps, these components. In this case, for the demo I have on the screen, we built 77 of these to pull this all together into one place. I have this inventory. I can now apply this to this given site. Perhaps I need to make a mobile site. I'm going to be able to reuse these 77 in another place. I can pull in apps from another partner and drop them inside of here, and we've done that with some of our partners with MT Newswires, as you saw up here. We've done that with S&P Cap IQ as well. Be able to pull that all into one place. But once I have that inventory, once I have the specification, these standards, I can then start to scale it up further. Not only do I have this directory, but I can start to consider things like fully personalized experiences. I'm an investor here. I have some big blue buttons. Perhaps this is actually coming from a demographic system or a CRM within your firm that allows you to slice and dice who your clientele is. We want to target a certain type of experience at any investor who is maybe more of a day trader. They're going to hold an investment for less than 6 months. I'm going to go ahead and push that in, and in a moment here, you'll see an experience come together based on all these other components we saw a second ago. This has just been created on the fly just now using a rules engine, analytics engine that we've constructed, and allows me to get something that's more of a day trader view. I've got a single day chart, live stream of information, stock twits, and news. Very, very straightforward, and it's just been constructed on the fly. I could reset this. We'll jump back here in a moment and go in as a longer-term trader. So let's switch out the lens I'm looking at this data with. What do we want to target as an experience for a longer-term investor? It's definitely not single-day charts, and it's definitely not stock twits. It's probably something more like a 3-year chart. A little bit of research coming in. Quote summary that's not the big streaming bit on the top, but more trend-based, and 20 years of fundamental information. So I'm showing you some really quick examples of how we do this. We're seeing applications for this across any of these experiences I've talked about, from a brokerage or a banking point of view, up to the advisor. Anywhere that you can target content, financial content, we want to be able to personalize those experiences and really make it so that you're getting that, we'll call it an Amazon-like experience without things getting creepy, if you will. You don't want the ads following you around, after that point. Last piece here, just as we start to wrap up, please come talk to us. Laura Edwards and I were upstairs. We're interested in kind of I call it the 3 C's. If you have one of these properties, if you have a site or what we call a container, we want to help you make your integration easier. It's really a pain. If you have content, we need app providers. We want to help you figure out how to get your content organized and in a way that you can deliver to some of these containers. And contributions. It's a true open source project. We're in the process of moving to a pure 501c6 foundational model. We need open source contributors to help make that happen and to push it forward. Left some contact information up here as well. Thank you very much.